Hello everyone, thanks for choosing to watch my video. I'm Dr. Elsbeth Robson. I'm Senior Lecturer in Human Geography in the Department of Geography, Geology and Environment at the University of Hull. In this really short video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am, the kind of research I do, and how I bring that into my teaching. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about why I think you might want to consider doing a degree in geography at the University of Hull in 2020 while the world is experiencing unprecedented changes during the COVID-19 pandemic. So hi everyone. My research is mostly been in Africa. I've had fantastic opportunities during my career, starting with a gap year in Kenya, a PhD in Nigeria, travel in West Africa, in Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire. Then I've carried on throughout my career to do research in lots of different countries across Africa, and I've even lived in Malawi for quite a long time. So through my research and teaching, you'll hear me talk a lot about development geographies, children and youth geographies, feminist and gender geographies, geographies of religion and belief. These are some of the topics in human geography which you'll be introduced to if you take a degree here with us at the University of Hull. These might be topics that you've heard about at A-level, or there might be new ones, or there might be things that you're interested in because you look at the world around you, or there could be new things that you've not thought about. So what kind of things do we look at in development geographies? Well, we look at other pandemics that came before coronavirus, like the HIV/AIDS pandemic. We look at issues around conservation and natural world. We look at how human activities like tourism and ecotourism can help promote conservation in areas like the Brazilian rainforest. I have a particular interest in the geographies of children and young people. I'm especially interested in the work that children do across the world, particularly what's been described as child labour in many of the poorer countries of the global south. I'm interested in children's access to education and health. I've done research on children's mobility and access to transport, and also around ICT and development, particularly the use of mobile phones and how they've been transforming people's lives in many poorer countries across the world. As a feminist, I'm very interested in the geographies of gender, how men and women's experiences, lived experiences, vary in different times and places. I'm committed to empowering and reducing inequalities, whether those be on the basis of gender, race, sexuality, or other differences. And at our university, we take diversity seriously, and we hope that you will all have an inclusive experience if you come to study with us. I also have an interest in geographies of religion and belief. I've done some research around pilgrimage in Malawi, and you can see a photograph there of a church in a Malawian township that's based on a model from a church in Yugoslavia. Some of the other photographs on this slide represent students on field trips in Kenya, interviewing a small grocery store owner in Kenya. You can see some children watching a performance with a local drama group sharing some of the results on our research around children and transport in Malawi. You can see minibus owners there somewhere in Africa, and a head teacher looking at some of the books that we were able to donate to her school library, as well as some women and children, mostly girls, collecting water at a village where we done research in southern Africa. So this map shows some of the countries where I've had fantastic opportunity to do field work, and that means that in my teaching in the degree, I'm able to bring to life some of the examples, some of the theories and concepts around development, sustainability, the Sustainable Development Goals, from my own experiences in these particular African countries. I hope that in better times, I may have the opportunity again to travel to these countries to do field work when things return to some kind of normal and we're able to travel after COVID-19. At the moment, I'm keeping in close contact with my colleagues and friends across Africa, and they're experiencing the pandemic in similar and different ways to the way we are here in the UK. It would be great as well if in the future we'll be able to take Hull University students to Africa on field trips like we have done in the past. My own involvement has been in field trip to Malawi, and in earlier times at another university I've also taken students to Kenya on a field trip. So a big question you might be thinking about at the moment is, well, we're living through a global pandemic. This is something new, the world has changed. Why should I think of doing a geography degree now, and why should I consider doing it at the University of Hull? These graphs show very starkly the way that the pandemic has spread over the past few months. I started looking at these graphs with my students in the first year module, Development and Change, way back in February. At that time, there were not many confirmed cases. Most of them were confined to Wuhan in China. Then by the time we came midway through the semester and got to April, the US was the centre of the pandemic and Europe was not far behind. Now here we are in June and it's a truly global phenomenon. Areas of Africa that previously didn't see many cases are now all reporting cases. Every country in Africa has reported cases, although thankfully so far they're very small. By the time you read this information will be out of date. The pandemic will have changed and moved on in ways that we can't yet predict. But these slides show you the importance of geography. These are produced by the Johns Hopkins University team using GIS mapping software. And without this kind of basic mapping of where cases are at, it's very hard to understand even the basics of the virus. So geography matters in this pandemic. And geography is part of fighting the COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak. So by choosing to do a geography degree, you will get all kinds of tools and experience in data analysis, in understanding, in questioning, in looking at how pandemics and other global issues affect the economy, the environment, society, behaviour in many different ways. And here are a couple of examples of blogs by geographers around the world about how geography is important in fighting the pandemic. And it's very basic. Mapping and geographical information systems are really important. I'm sure across your media screens you've seen lots and lots of different kinds of maps showing all kinds of aspects of the pandemic, not just cases of transmission or positive tests or sadly deaths, but things like who washes their hands after using the toilet. This can affect transmission rates quite considerably. Lots of geographers have started to write and reflect about how geography can bring a unique perspective to understanding and ultimately combating the impacts of the virus. There are some interesting blogs on the Royal Geographical Society's website and some of the university departments around the country. So I encourage you to have a look at those if you're interested. Before I go, I'd like to just thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you will think about coming to Hull to do geography. We'd really like to welcome you to explore the world of geography and enjoy our classroom field trips, online teaching in ways that we hope will enrich your life and your career into the future. Thank you and bye-bye.